Hello everyone, I am Siddharthan. In today's video, we are going to discuss about exploratory data analysis, also known as EDA. EDA is one of the important aspects in the life cycle of a data science project, and the reason we have to do EDA is to get a better understanding of the data set that we have. So in this video, first let's try to understand what is meant by this EDA, what is its significance, and what are all the tasks that we need to do in order to perform this exploratory data analysis. Then we will work on a sample data set in order to get some hands-on experience on EDA. So you can have this as a checklist, and you can follow all these steps in case you are working on a different project. Okay, so this will be the agenda for today's video, and let's get started. So here I have given you the formal definition of what is meant by exploratory data analysis. So we can call this as a EDA in the short form. So EDA is all about analyzing the data set and summarizing the key insights and characteristics of the data. So we know that in data science, we use several machine learning techniques in order to find some important insights from the data. And from this insights, we can also, predict future values. So this is how basically data science and machine learning works. And one of the initial steps that we need to do on a data set is to analyze the data set so we can get some overall understanding of the data. So this step is called as exploratory data analysis. And these are all some of the important tasks that we need to do when it comes to EDA. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand what the data set is and what's the shape of the data set. So basically, how many rows and columns are there in the data set, and we have to check what is the data type of each column. So whether all the values are in the form of numerical values, or we have any categorical columns, and some object formats or anything like that. So after that, we will see how many categorical columns are there and numerical columns are there. So after that, we need to see whether any values are missing from this data set. So if we have any missing values, we need to work on that missing value before feeding it to our machine learning model. So the other main thing when it comes to exploratory data analysis is that we have to get the descriptive summary of the data set. So what is its mean, what is its standard deviation, and what is its median value, and so on. So getting this data will tell us whether the data is skewed or not, and even a lot of things like that. Okay, so this is one of the steps and one of the important steps in EDA. And finally, if it is a classification problem, we can try to group the data points based on their classes. So these are all some of the important things that we need to do. And there may be some other tasks as well, depending upon the data sets that we have. So in today's video, we are going to use the breast cancer data set, and for this particular data set, all these steps are enough. Okay, so let's get started. So I have already uploaded my data set here, so you can find this data set in Kaggle, so you can search for it. So I'll also give the link for this data set in the description of this video. Okay, so the first step is to import the dependency. So we all know that. So we are importing NumPy library, pandas, and I'm importing my label encoder function as well from sklearn.preprocessing, because I'm going to encode my labels. So let's see what are all the labels that we have and how we are going to encode this. So first, let's import the dependency. So I've created sections for my code, okay, so that we can combine all the cells together. So the next part of the code is data collection. So here we are just loading the data set that we have to a pandas data frame. Okay, so let's name this data frame as breast cancer data, and we are going to use this pd.readcsv function to load this data set. So I'll run this particular cell. So this will load my data set to this data frame. So the next thing that we have is the exploratory data analysis part. So I'll show you how you can create a section. So let's say that we have multiple code cells here. So you can see the code cells now, and you can just go and create a text cell here. Let's say that we are giving the name as EDA. So this is a text cell, right? So what you need to do is, so just use an hash symbol before this text, so it will create a separate section. And if you click this drop down menu, so it will enclose all the cells. So this is how you can create sections so that it looks uh, not complicated, so it will look more compact and so on. So we have created multiple section here, and this is where the exploratory data analysis part starts. So you can see here, the first thing that we need to do is get a basic understanding about the data set. So EDA is all about getting the doing that basic exploration and understanding what the data is like and so on. Okay, so there is not going to be anything new here. So we have already seen all of these in multiple project videos. So I just wanted to make a separate video so that you understand what is meant by this EDA and so on. So first, we need to understand how many columns are there, how many features are there, how many data points are there and so on. So first step is printing the first 5 rows of the data frame. So this is a typical thing that we do when we have a data set. So I'll run this. So this will give me the first 5 rows of the data frame. So in case you want the last 5 rows, you can use data frame name dot tail. So here you can see I've used the head function. So in case you want the last 5 rows, you can use a tail function. Okay, so you can see the first 5 rows that we have here. So we have the ID column and we have the diagnosis column. So this diagnosis column contain two classes. One is M, and the another one is B. So M basically means malignant cases, and B means benign cases. So malignant cases means it is like more threatening, where the cancer has the ability to spread to other parts and so on. Whereas if the tumor is benign, so it is not going to move to some other parts of the body, so it is not that much dangerous. So we have two classes, and the use of this data set is to predict whether a person has tumor in benign stage or malignant stage. So basically we have two values in our diagnosis as either M or B. Okay, and then we have the radius mean, texture mean, perimeter mean, etc. So we have a lot of values here, and these are the cytological values. So the values obtained from a medical test, where they test the cells which are looks like looking like the tumor and so on. So these are all the different columns we have. So there is radius mean, texture mean, and so on. So this particular data set contains about 30 or 32 columns. So you can see here we have the last column. So this is an unwanted column because it doesn't contain any value. So it contains only missing value. So we don't need this. So we can just remove this column. Okay. So for removing this column, I'm going to use this drop command. So I'm going to drop this unnamed 32 because that is the name of the column that we have. So we can just remove that particular column. So I'm using this drop function, and if you are dropping a column, you should specify the access value as 1, and if you are dropping a row, you should give the access value as 0, and so on. In place is equal to true. That means I want to remove that column in my original data set, and I want to save this. So I want like this in place should be true for dropping this column. So this will be our next step. Okay, so after that, now you can again run this yet command to see whether that column is removed or not. So we don't have that last column that we had before. So this column had been removed now. So we can see here that these are all the different values that we have. So you can also check what is the magnitude of values in each feature. So if you see here, the values in this particular column is in the range of 20s, right? So 10 to 20s and so on. So if you come to this column, the values are in the range of 1000. So you can use this particular step in order to see what is the range and so on. Okay, and the next step is to understand the shape of the data set. So how many data points are there and how many features are there. So totally we have about 569 data points and 32 columns. So 569 data points basically means the rows. So we totally have values from 569 different people, and we have 32 features. So 32 features in the sense the basic columns that we have. And the next step is to determine what is the data type that we have. So as you can see here, I have mentioned here. So the next step would be to see what is the data type that we have in each column. So for that, we can use this dot info function. So this is the function that we have in the pandas library. So I'll just run this to see. Okay, so this will also give you the non-null count. So that means the values that are not missing. Okay, so null values means missing values, non-null values means the values that are present. So totally we have 569 entries, so 569 rows. And as you can see here, this data set doesn't contain any missing values. And if you check the data type here, so the ID is in the form of integer, so 64-bit integer, and the diagnosis column is in the form of an object, and the other features are in the form of floating points, which basically represents decimal values. So this is the data type that we have. And in often while we are working with data set, we prefer values in the same data type. Okay, so here what we will do is we will convert this diagnosis column. So you can see here it is in the form of object. So we will convert it into values such as 1 and 0, so that we have all the values in the numerical data type. Okay, so that is the next thing that we can do. So and the other thing, that as I've told you, there are no missing values. So in case there are missing values, we need to do some more analysis. So we will see whether where the values are missing. So it can be some values may be missing at the top of the data set, maybe in the top columns, or it can be missing from the bottom columns, or there can be a separate or a specific place in which the data is missing, and so on. So there will be other data analysis part on the missing value. So in this case, we don't have any missing values, so it is not an issue. So I'll make a separate values on how you can handle this missing values in a more detailed way. So for now, we can go ahead with the next part, as we don't have any missing values. So the next part will be to drop the ID column. So the ID column is not that much necessary for us. So it is just an ID, so you can just drop this. So we don't need this for our further analysis and so on. So I'm just going to drop this ID column. So I'm giving in place is equal to true because I want to drop this from my original data set, and I'm giving access is equal to 1 because I'm dropping a column. So let's run this. So this will drop my ID column. So the next thing is, as you can see here, we are checking how many categorical columns are there and how many numerical columns are there. So as we know that only this diagnosis column is a categorical column because it is in the form of object. So we have two values, as I said before, m and b, which represent malignant and benign. Okay, so I made a note here. So this diagnosis column is a categorical column, whereas remaining column are continuous values. Continuous values means the numerical values that are not discrete. So discrete values in the sense, let's say that there is a question, like someone asks how many students are there in a class. So the answer would be 50 or 60 or something like that, right? So it is some fixed amount, so you cannot have 50.5 students in a class, right? So those values are called as discrete, where you cannot have those decimal values and so on. So the values have to be discrete, whereas continuous values are those, it can be any value. So this perimeter mean value can be 1 to 2.80, or it can be like 1 to 2.808 and so on. So these are called as continuous value. And from this data set, from the data set that we have, we can see that only the categorical column, so this diagnosis is the categorical column, and all the other values are continuous numerical values. So next we are checking if there is any missing value. So you can use this is null command to see whether your data set contains any missing values, and it will give you the sum of or the total number of missing values in each column. Okay, so let's run this. As you can see here, we don't have any missing values in this particular data set, so it is a good thing. Okay, so we don't have any missing values, so we can move on to the next step. So as we can see here, the first step is to understand the data set. So what are all the different features we have, what is their magnitude and so on. After that, we checked for the shape. So once we do all these tasks, we will try to give a summary of the overall data set, so that we can get some insights out of this data. Okay, so we have checked the data type of each column, and we have seen what are all the categorical and numerical columns that we have, and we have also checked whether the data set contains any missing values. So the next part will be finding the descriptive summary of the data set, and this is one of the most important thing that we need to do. Okay, so before that, we just need to do two or three small tasks. Let's see. So as we can see here, the dataset doesn't contain any missing values, and the next step is getting the descriptive statistical measures. Okay, so this is called as the statistical summary of the data, and for this we can use this function called as describe. Okay, so we have discussed before that there are two main types of statistics. One is descriptive statistics, and the other one is the inferential statistics. While we are talking about the descriptive statistics, we will try to describe the data and give some summary of the data set. So whereas when it comes to inferential statistics, we will try to find some inference, we may need to predict some values and so on. So this part of the code is all about descriptive statistics, where we will try to find some statistical measures that explains our data set. So I'll run this. Okay, so this is my descriptive statistics part. So I get some statistical summary of my entire data set. So we have all the columns here. Okay, so as you can see, we have all the columns, and the important thing that you need to note here is that when you use this describe function, so this won't be carried out for the columns that is in the form of object. So only the numerical values will be taken into consideration for this describe, and they will be we will find this values and so on. So first is the count. So we are finding how many values are there in each feature. So we know that there are totally 569 rows, so there will be 569 values in each column. Okay, so what is their mean value? So we know that mean is nothing but the average of the value. So we just add all the values and divide it by the total number of values. So mean value for this radius mean column is 14.12, and for texture mean it's 19.28 and so on. And then we have the standard deviation value for each column. So standard deviation basically tells you what is the difference between each value and the mean value that we have here. So what is their difference and so on. And then we have the minimum value in each column, and this is the 25th percentile. So this is like very important for us. So the percentile values and the median value. So 25th percentile basically means how many values are below this particular point. Say for example, in this case the 25th percentile value is 11.70, right? So that means 25% of the data that we have in this data set is less than this 11.7 value in the radius mean column. So if you see the next column, the next feature, which is texture mean. So 25% of the values in this column lie below 16.17 and so on. So we have 25th percentile and 50th percentile and 75th percentile and so on. And finally, we have this maximum value. Okay. So the main thing that you need to note here is that the 50th percentile is my median value. So I hope you remember what is the difference between mean and median. So mean is the average of all the values that we have, and median is the middle value. So what we will do is we will take all the values, sort them in the ascending order, and we will take the middle value, and that middle value will be my median. So in this case, you can see the difference between the mean value and the median value. So this 50th percentile is my median value because it is the middle value that we have. So in this case, for the first column, the median value is 13.37. For second column, it is 18.40 and so on, right? So here you can see for some features, the mean value is greater than the median value. So in this case, you can see here the median value is 86.2, whereas the mean value is 91.2, right? So in this case, the median value is 551 and the mean value is 654. So there is a clear difference between them. So when your mean value is greater than the median value, in that case, we call those data as right skewed data. So this is like very important for us. So if there is skewness in the data set, we may need to transform our data set. So there are like transforming methods like log transform and so on. So whenever you're using some regression models, you need to transform your data if there is some skewness in the data set that we have. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick explanation on what is meant by this skewness. So this is how a normal distribution will look like. So you can see the middle picture here. So this is how a normal distribution looks like, where most of the values are situated in the middle region. Okay, so for a normal distribution data, so the mean, median and mode value all will be the same. So mode is nothing but the most repeated value. So in most cases, the mean and median value will be the same for normal distribution, and this is how a positively skewed data will look like. So positively skewed is the other name is nothing but right skewed data, and the negatively skewed data is similar to left skewed data. So you just need to look at the tail. So let's see, we can say that the tail is in the right side here, right? Whereas in this case, so just a second. So in this case, the tail is in the left side. So if the tail is in the left side, we call that as left skewed data or negatively skewed data. And if the tail is on the right side, we call that as right skewed data. So you can see here. So here the mean value is greater than median value. You can see here, right? So the y-axis basically represents the total number of values that we have, and the x-axis represents the magnitude of the value. So if I go to this data set, so you can see the value here, right? So let's take this first radius mean value, and the mean value is 14.12 and the median value is 13.37 and so on. Okay, so here you can see, so we have all the magnitude. So you can just consider one column at a time. So let's say that we are taking the radius mean column alone and we are trying to find the distribution in that particular column. So y-axis will be my count, so how many values are there, and x-axis will be my magnitude value. So as I've told you before, mean value will be greater for right skewed data, so the median value will be less than that. Whereas in the case of left skewed data or negatively skewed data, the mean value will be less than the median value. So our goal will be to transform this data into more like a normal distribution value. So the problem with this skewed data is that, as you can see in this particular region, when the magnitude of x is higher, we don't have much data points. So the model won't be able to predict the values correctly. Whereas if you have a normal distribution, when most of the values lies in this central region, we won't be having much outliers, and the model can make good predictions because it can see where most of the data is situated. So if you have less data in this particular region, it is hard for the model to find the difference. So this is why we need to process the skewness in the data set, and this is very important when we are using regression models. So like tree models are not much affected by this skewness. Okay, so we have decision trees and especially random forest and so on. So these models are not that much sensitive to this skewness and so on. Okay, so for this we may use some log transformation and so on. So here we won't be doing all those things. So those things will be covered in the feature engineering part, where we have to process this data based on all these insights we are getting. Okay, so here we are just looking the data and analyzing how the data is looking like and so on. So similarly, you can see it for the other values as well. So I'm just taking the 50th percentile value and see. So you can just check the median value and the mean value and so on. Okay, so you can just go through it, and for most of the columns, so it will be right skewed data where the mean value will be more and the median value will be less, and for some of the columns there will be normal distribution and so on. So this is like one of the important things that you note, that you should note when you are doing EDA and so on. So the next step is finding the distribution of target variable. So I'm just going to see how my target variable is distributed. So I'll just run this cell. As you can see here, as I've told you, diagnosis contains two values. One is B and the another value is M. So B basically represents benign tumors and M represents malignant tumors. So benign tumors are not, it's not something that we need to worry about, because malignant tumors can move to the other parts of the body and they can create a cancer there. So we need to find this difference. So when we give some value, the model should predict whether a person has benign or malignant tumor. So this is the end goal of our this particular system, but we are not interested in that prediction and so on in this particular video. We are just looking to analyze the data. Okay, so we have benign cases of about 357 values and 212 like values are there for malignant cases. So as you can see that there is some imbalance in the data set. So the distribution is not equal for benign and the malignant cases, but the distribution imbalance is not that much high in this particular case. So we can handle with this particular one. Okay, so there is an imbalance, but it is not that much issue in this case. So if you in some cases the imbalance will be so much. Say for example, you may have a benign cases of about 500 values and the malignant cases will be only 50 values or 100 values. So in that cases we may need to use methods like sampling or up sampling in order to create the balance between the classes that we have. So that is one thing that you need to remember. So here we are just using this label encoder function that we imported from this sklearn.data preprocessing. If you remember, we have imported this label encoder function in order to encode the labels that we have. So often we don't want to have this character based data type. So you can see here that this is in the form of an alphabet, right? So we will try to convert this into numerical values. So we are using this label encoder. I'll run this. So I'm creating a variable called as label and I'm fitting and transforming all the values in my diagnosis column. So what it will basically do is it will take this values B and M and it will give the values 1 and 0. So this is how label encoding works. Okay, so now I'll just try to uh, you know print this. So the other thing that I did is, so I'm creating a new column called as target. So I'm creating a new column and I'm storing all the encoded labels to this particular column, and I'm going to remove the diagnosis column. So I'm basically just taking this diagnosis column. So you can see here, so I'm taking the diagnosis column and I'm converting all the M's into zeros and B's into 1 and so on. So the order can be anything. So I'm encoding the values and I'm creating a new column called as target, and I'm creating a separate column for this, and I'm deleting this diagnosis column because we don't want any duplicate values. So that is what done in this particular step. First we are loading the label encoder and then we are transforming the labels that we have, and I'm creating a new column called as target, and finally I'm deleting this diagnosis column. So now you can print the set column and see whether that has happened or not. So as you can see here, now this data frame won't contain this diagnosis column, but at the end it will contain this target column. Okay, so now again you can check for the distribution. So as you can see here, 0 represents benign. As you can see here, benign has 357 cases and malignant has 212 cases. So we have encoded it. Now 0 basically represents benign tumors and 1 represents malignant tumors. Okay, so as you can see here, there is a slight imbalance in the data set that we have. So in this case it doesn't cause much of a problem. Okay, so if you want, you can perform those upsampling and downsampling and so on. So the next step is grouping the data based on their mean. So for this we have a separate function in pandas called as group by, and I'm going to group the values based on my target. So target is nothing but either a 0 or 1, and I'm going to group based on the mean values. So I'll run this and explain you what this means. So I'm taking all the values for the label 0 and all the values for the label 1, and I'm finding the mean of all these values. So for radius mean, the mean value is 12.14 for benign cases. So we know that 0 represents benign, right? So the mean value for the radius mean column is 17.4 for malignant cases represented by 1. So here the important thing that you need to see here is we can see a clear difference between the values for benign and malignant cases. So the values are quite high when it comes to malignant and it is less for benign cases, right? So what is meant by a tumor? So tumor is something that kind of divides uncontrollably, and it kind of grows without the control of the human system. So those are called as tumors, and they form clusters of cells. So these clusters of cells are called as tumors. So basically for malignant tumors you will have increased size and division, so that's why the values are more. So these are all the values of the tumor cells, so the radius, mean, texture, and so on. Okay, so as you can see here, there is a clear difference between the values. So you can say that if these values are kind of more than the normal, we can say that that tumor is malignant. So if the values are less, we don't need any systems. Okay, so we can manually tell that if these values are high, we can say that it is malignant. If the values are less, it is probably benign, and so on. So we have, this for all the features, so all the columns that we have, and the values are more when it comes to malignant cases. So this is the important inference that we are getting. So you don't need any machine learning model to understand this. We can just manually see this using all these functions and so on. So the important inference that we are getting is, so we can clearly see that most of the features, the mean values are higher for malignant cases and lower for benign cases. So this is the summary that we are getting for the exploratory data analysis that we did. Okay, so for our data set we don't have any missing values. So if we have any missing values, we need to do some more analysis and we need to process this missing value. So most of the models doesn't take data set with missing values, so we need to do some processing on that and so on. So we will try to replace it with mean value or median value, or we can also use machine learning models in order to predict the missing values. So there are also other methods like that. So this is the first inference that we are getting. So there are no missing values, and all the values are continuous numerical values except for the target column. So target column is nothing but my diagnosis column. So in this case, the mean is slightly more than the median value for most of the features, as I've told you. So we can call that this data set is kind of slightly skewed for most of the features. So this is one of the main insights that we are getting. And slight imbalance in the data set is here because for we have more cases for benign and less cases for malignant and so on. So this is another important insight we are getting. And finally, mean of most features are clearly larger for malignant cases compared to the benign cases. So we have found this using this group by function. So these are all some of the simple data analysis tasks that we can do for classification problem, and for regression problem we may need to some more analysis and so on. So I just want you to remember one thing, that these are all all the steps. So we may need to include some more steps based on the data set that we have. And for the data set that we have considered, which is the breast cancer data set, this insight is kind of enough for moving to the next part. Okay, so like in the next video I'll try to explain you about data visualization. So data visualization is actually a part of EDA. So in data visualization we will try to visualize some important meanings from the data set. So we will try to plot the distribution in the data. We will see whether there are any outliers in the data set and so on. So we kind of try to visualize it. So that is actually very important in a data science project. So once you are completed your data science project, you need to present it in the form of graphs or plots or something like that. So that will be the next step, where we will do some more analysis using some plots and graphs in Python. Okay, so this is all about EDA, where we will try to analyze the data and we get some meaningful insights from the data. So once we complete the data visualization part, we will try to include this summary along with this EDA summary and so on. So you can just think about data visualization as a part of exploratory data analysis. Okay, so once you have this analysis and so on, you will get a lot of insights, like whether the data has any outliers, whether there are any missing values, whether you need to work on that and so on. So based on this insights, you can choose a proper machine learning model and train it for further predictions. Okay, so that's it from my side, and I'll see you in the next upload. Thanks for watching.